Hi, we are here with Fred Armisen from Portlandia, and Fred, after 4 seasons of the show, how do you sit down and start planning ideas for the fifth season that we've just seen?
What we do is we usually kind of look at each other and think about what resonated most for us from the season before. So we'll think like, okay, what did we enjoy? What seemed to make sense? How can we keep going further? Because we don't really go from a place of starting with season one. We go from like, okay, the conversation continues from the last one we did. So there's some of that, and then there's also some of us haven't seen each other for a while. So some of us might say like, did anyone experience this at the airport, or did anyone experience this while shopping or something? So whenever someone else answers, oh yeah, that happened to me too, then we know that that's a pretty good subject matter.
Mm. Was that sort of how that scene where you're sort of trying to get out of the airport at the right time for the pickup come about?
Yeah, that was based on getting to and back from the airport and picking somebody up is so complicated that it is sort of like a high stakes drama, and it is almost like a covert, uh, almost military kind of operation because they really keep you moving and everything, and so it's kind of that's based on that.
Mm. Yeah. Were there any particular episodes or moments that you sort of like really stick out for you from season five?
I'm going to change the background and go. I'm going to show
Okay.
you all. This is Portland. This is Portland.
Oh, so that is actually Portland.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's what it looks like.
Yeah.
Um, so from this season five, we did an episode which was the story of Tony and Candace. That's the bookstore ladies. And when we first started writing it, we thought, okay, maybe they were in punk bands or something. And then little by little, it kept becoming too easy to write it. It just kept like sort of like, okay, and it made too much sense. So we thought, let's do something that is a surprise to everybody, and even wait, is this still working? Yeah, a surprise to us and a surprise to everybody else, and then we just made it so that they were actually part of like the bookstore chain scene in the 90s. So it's like sort of they were competing with each other. We just like the idea of them coming from a place that is unexpected.
Yeah, and I guess with Portlandia, you've got sort of two ways you do the show. There are some episodes like the Tony and Candace one, where you pretty much just pick a couple of characters and you follow them the whole way through. And there's another one, maybe like your season final, Dead Pets, where you've got a lot of the different characters you play on the show, and you sort of like a whole lot of little vignettes that all sort of tie in together. Um, I guess, how do you get that balance of how many episodes do we do that are just sort of one story, and how many do we get like as many characters as we can in there?
We let the story unfold on its own. So whatever comes naturally, then from there we say, okay, we do need an extra couple of characters in there. This one sounds like it can go 2 episodes. This one sounds like it's just a short piece. It's as we're writing it, it becomes evident, and sometimes it goes the opposite direction. Let's make this one a whole episode, and then all of a sudden we realize that we cannot fill this much time with just this one concept. So it's and unfortunately it's just not as easy as that. So our writing days are spent. It does look like a miniature sort of war room of like, okay, we got to figure out episode 7. Let's make it great, and it comes from us being fans of TV, because whenever we see a great episode of Game of Thrones and we're currently watching it, that's when we go, oh, there's gotta be a way to make it like Game of Thrones, where people want to come back and see it.
Yeah. Now your show, like, and we talked a little bit about this last year, but you've got this real sort of you walk the line a bit between a sketch show, which is a whole bunch of different characters and like little scenes and stuff, but you are part of this world of Portlandia. It all happens within this same environment, within this same world, and there's more there's sort of how do you approach sort of stuff like character development and things that are a bit more in the territory of maybe a sitcom or a drama series like Game of Thrones, while keeping that sort of sketch element as well?
We don't really know, you know. There are just shows that we've always loved that we just kind of use as examples of it's okay if we do it this way. But it is a daily puzzle. It's a daily puzzle of like, well, you know, we sort of pause and think like, is this the right way to go? So we're just usually influenced by other shows. We'll see something on TV and we'll go, well, it worked for that. So then I think we can certainly do it. And that's kind of the only way to go. We never really know until it's all aired on TV, and then we can look back and figure out what worked and what we feel like we can expand on some more.
And even though you're part of this sort of world of Portland that everything happens in, it seems like your show has an incredible amount of creative license to just go in whatever direction you and Carrie's judgment seems the best way to go.
It seems that way, but there are limitations, and limitations are good. We're really hard on ourselves. We want to keep it engaging. We have sponsors who we want to respect. We have timing. We have and even notes. I'm not against having notes on something because I really want the intent to be clear. I don't want it to be muddled or confusing. So and also there are 3 of us, actually 5 of us writing. And that doesn't mean that we all agree on the same way of doing things. So we also want to like make each other happy.
What are some of those limitations that you have on the show?
Understanding. There are many things that you and I, or that I take for granted, things that you think people know about. But sometimes you've got to clarify it. You've got to make it clear for everybody. And I like it when I watch shows and they do that for me, because there's just some things that I don't know. So a little bit of setting the stage, a little bit of like, well, we just don't make any assumptions that, hey, we all know what we're talking about. It's a little like something like the airport one that you gave an example of. We just make sure that it isn't so inside of our heads that it leaves anybody out. So that's like a creative limitation. And then there are limitations as far as like our sponsors. So, and this is a very honest answer, but like, you know, if we're sponsored by Subaru, we can't easily say that this person wants to buy a Volvo or something that's similar to a Subaru. That's their request, and it's a reasonable request, and that's like it's a limitation because sometimes we write something where we're like, well, we think this character is in a Volvo, and then it turns out that we shouldn't do it that way. And for some reason, I kind of like limitations like that because I don't think that everyone should just willy-nilly just do whatever they want and just think like, well, you know, it's almost like for some reason I think it brings out the best in everybody. It brings out like, it just makes everybody think and pause a little bit.
Do you want to change backgrounds again, Fred? That light's now shining a bit bright through from behind you.
Let's do The Damned.
Okay, let's do it.
Let's talk about The Damned. The Damned are one of the greatest punk bands ever. Captain Sensible is one of the greatest musicians ever. They were the first band to release a punk single, to do a punk record, and they are still together. Dave Vanian is the singer, and they are just one of the greatest bands ever.
No, very good. Have they won any Grammys, Fred?
I don't think they've won any Grammys. Let's work on that. Let's make it a new campaign. And the name of the award should be Best Damned, so that they win it.
Yeah, the Best Damned. Well, they'd have an inside track.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I'm assuming SeaWorld wasn't a sponsor of Portlandia.
No, SeaWorld is kind of a very that's one of those things about clarification. Like, I feel like everyone knows about SeaWorld and everyone understands like what an eco-terrorist would think of SeaWorld, and that was something that didn't need that much explaining because it's a very well-known story. Um, and we also weren't making a big statement on it. We just wanted those characters to be motivated to do something.
I'm sorry, Fred. Can you hear me, Fred? You've broken up.
Oh, I said that. Where did you lose me? Hello?
You've broken up a bit, Fred. Do you want to hang up and then just enter the chat again?
Sure.
Yeah, great. With Fred Armisen at the moment talking Portlandia and the Damned, the best the best punk pop rock band, and he's about to rejoin us after cutting out a real sort of a Portlandia themed Gold Derby chat. We're seeing views of Portland and we're jumping all over the place, seeing different backgrounds and very cinema verite style of interview. So hopefully he'll be joining us again in a minute. This season of Portlandia was 10 episodes long. It'll be competing in the Variety Emmy category the new sketch category. When Fred joins us back in a minute, we'll be talking with him a bit about the Emmy upheaval this year with different category changes and things like that. And we're back. Fred, looking good.
How's that?
It's good.
All right.
Okay. A new background and you guys. You're just talking about the SeaWorld episode when it cut out.
Oh, just that it was a very it's just a very famous place, and we thought we just wanted the eco-terrorists to have a goal where they get distracted. So it was no comment on SeaWorld and it was no comment on eco-terrorists. It was just a story.
Yeah, and I guess there's been a lot of Emmy upheaval this year with category changing and new categories and things like that. They've now introduced a sketch variety category at the Emmys. Do you think this is a good direction for them to go in? It obviously is going to have implications for Portlandia.
Well, I feel like I don't know enough, or I just feel like I don't know enough to be able to come up with like a judgment in what's right and what's wrong and what's like the right. My assumption is that it's great. You know, I like that that there is constant change. That's nice that there are new categories introduced. So that's a good thing. But it's weird because like there were, you know, there's the talk show variety category. And one would usually think like, well, that's different than Portlandia, but there we were nominated. So I can't complain about that. I can't say that like it should be any different because whatever happened, let me tell you that it was really, really nice. Being nominated was just, I framed my little nomination like, they sort of sent me this like really, really nice document that said that I was nominated or the show was nominated, and I really enjoyed it. But I just feel like whatever changes happen, it's all for good reason, and that's great. And it might be kind of nice actually also for newer sketch shows. Maybe they'll also have a chance, or you know, as time goes, there'll just be more and more sketch shows. So I think it's a nice thing.
And like yeah, you spoke about last year breaking into those categories, and like Portlandia is a show that, if you don't mind me saying, could be easy on the network it is, and for the type of show it is, to be ignored by a group like the Emmys. But they've really embraced that show over the past sort of 5 seasons, and every year you've built on more nominations than the preceding year. What is it?
Incredibly nice.
Incredibly
nice.
And we've seen sketch performers since they disbanded the sketch, the variety performer category at the Emmys. We've seen plenty of sketch performers make the supporting and actor and actress category, but they've all been from Saturday Night Live. You were
No,
the first, yeah, you were the first one to get in there for a sketch show under those newish rules from a different show. What did that mean?
what did you mean? Like, what did it mean to me?
Yes.
Um, it was especially nice, and the thing is that, like, even though it wasn't specifically for Saturday Night Live, I will always be from Saturday Night Live. Portlandia is, in its own way, an extension of Saturday Night Live because it's just in the family. So it was a really nice feeling. I really felt it really made me feel good about the show, and it's still, I just feel like SNL will just always be part of so many things that it was like a good combination of everything all together.
The variety sketch category will be so interesting this year because you will likely have Saturday Night Live, this big 40-year like television staple, going up against a lot of smaller upstart shows, like
Yeah.
like Portlandia and newer ones. Like, what do you think the state of that race is, or that sort of category is going to be like? Because yeah, it'll be such an interesting field.
It's really cool because Saturday Night Live operates from trying to make the best sketches they can make. And on the actual show, there are big fancy sketches with music and celebrities, and then there are the weird little sketches at the end of the night, but they're all, part of the running to be on the actual show, Saturday Night Live. A lot of it gets cut. So I think that, like, it kind of represents what that show is. It's like SNL. I mean, they have all kinds of performers and all kinds of sketches. So it's kind of nice that it's mixed in with whoever, Key and Peele or whoever it is, Broad City, all of those shows, as it should be.
Seeing you up there, like along with them nominated, sort of a bit like almost like sort of when Colbert was nominated alongside the Daily Show. You sort of got the mothership and then the sort of like spawn of the show, sort of in company with each other.
Yeah, it's kind of similar. It's the same kind of thing.
Yeah. Obviously, yeah, Carrie, you work with very closely. Last year we talked a bit about it, but she was on the chat with us. So you may have not been able to be as candid as you like, if you like back then. What's it like working with Carrie on the show?
It really is everything in my life, in a perfect setting. It is as if I wrote out my wishes in the world and then it came true, because she's my best friend ever, and she's just such the most important part of my life. And then to make good art with her, and I don't mean it as like a compliment on the show, like, hey, we make good art, but art that is made by us, like something that we create together, is all I ask for. I mean, I ask for some more things, but like a nice car and like a nice place to live. But it is creatively, it is the very top of what I've ever wanted to do. And she's so funny and she's so compelling and brilliant and my favorite kind of performer. So I'm lucky that I get to watch her perform. I'm blown away by what a great writer she is. She's an unbelievable writer. I've worked with the best, I've worked with so many writers, and she really is right up there. She's incredible. She's so funny. And we have the same goal for the show. We have the same vision for it. We have the same focus on it. We even have like the same, like, even though we're optimists, the same like little bit of like thunder behind it, like just this. I think we'll always be people who are punk musicians. I think that never goes away.
We're speaking with her later in the week. Do you have any good questions for us to ask her?
Ask her how her dogs are doing.
Mm-hmm.
Ask her if she is going to drive or fly from LA to Portland.
Yeah.
And ask her if it's cold wherever she is, if the room is air conditioned.
Okay, is the room air conditioned? Very good. Well, we'll ask those questions along to her when we speak to her later this week. With I guess this sort of partnership you have and things like that, and working on this sort of collaboratively in a sort of a smallish group. I don't. You said about 5 writers. You don't have the rooms of 20 writers that some shows have. Does that make it a more intimate process, the creation in Portlandia?
Definitely. I mean, and it's very it is also very physically close. Like we just have this little table and we just all face each other and there's a board in front of us. So yeah, it is very intimate.
And with you and Carrie, you play so many of the different characters on the show. When do you decide, let's get a guest in for that one? Or no, we can do that?
Just when we know that it will be impossible to shoot unless we have someone else to bounce off of and have the characters react to. And then sometimes we just think, sometimes we put guest stars in when we know that they're in town. If someone's playing, a musician is playing in town, we're like, oh, well, I don't care. We'll make them they're the train conductor in this one, or they're the, whatever. Like sometimes we sort of just let luck and chance take its course.
Is that how Paul Simon came about?
50-50. Mm-hmm. It was part of a trip that he was on, but he didn't necessarily have to stop in Portland. So it was a kind of, he was in the area. And so part of it was us saying, would you mind stopping by? But also it wasn't like he had to go way, 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 way out of his way.
Yeah. Is there a particular guest that comes into the show that you particularly love bouncing off?
Kyle MacLachlan. I would say Steve Buscemi is a whole lot of fun. Jeff Goldblum. Jane Lynch was really just great. Everyone was great. But I'd say Kyle he's been on the show since the pilot, and so he's part of the show, so we really like performing with him.
And with Kyle, that scene where you make the conspiracy postcard, how did that scene come about? That is just, and the way it just turns into this video into just a postcard, and the guy, the music, and so sort of simple, but it the way that scene built so quickly. How did that come about?
Well, the character of the mayor likes doing things not for the end result. He just likes the act of doing things. So we noticed that in the writer's room, there are all these conspiracy videos, they're really crazy. It'll be George W. Bush, and then they'll focus on someone standing to his right. And then it's a very particular style of video where did you notice that they just create these insane scenarios, and they make videos and they put them up on YouTube. So we were just kind of laughing about that. Why, how do people put so much energy into something like this? And then we just thought okay, how can we fit this into the show? And we thought maybe the mayor's obsessed with it and he wants to create one. And in the scene, we're sort of I don't know if you want a conspiracy video. He's like, yeah, I really want one. And then what happens is, as I bring logic into it, it turns out the best way to do it is to make a conspiracy postcard. That's the easiest way to do it, because creating a video, he wanted to get footage from the 1800s. And we were like, there is no footage from the 1800s. That kind of thing.
Yeah, it's those, and this is what I love about comedy. It's those little lines, sort of, they didn't have video back then. Just the little lines like that are just so fun. I've talked with some of the Veep actors about that too, of just, it's not even the big scenes, it's those little lines that just can create, be so, even better.
That's the talent of the editors. I probably don't even remember saying those things. It just happens. And we shoot and we talk, and then we eat lunch, and then we talk some more. I mean, we really shoot and just get as much as we can. And then all of a sudden we'll watch it, and I literally will not remember saying those things, but it makes sense in the piece. So those are the editors who go through a lot of footage to get the right things.
Well, thank you so much for your time today, Fred. All the best with Emmys for Portlandia, with the new sketch series, supporting actor again. Is there an episode you'd want to submit if you got nominated?
Well, I think there's for the whole show, the Tony and Candace, there's their backstory. I think we feel really good about, and then it's really weird, talking about myself, just to be like, hey, I think this is great. So I'm actually going to leave that blank because I really I have respect and honor for the however the system is, and also like what a great part of entertainment it is. I just think it's cool. I I I will always feel starstruck by the all of it. So I'm just gonna leave that blank because I just enjoy it. It's all crazy.
Yeah, the choice you've got is, do I pick one where I play a whole lot of characters and show the different roles I play, or do I pick one where there's a bit more of an arc where, people can go on the journey that my character goes on?
Well, the problem with doing math like that is that that doesn't always add up to what a great performance is.
Yeah.
I have a separate issue that I feel like I could talk to you about, where there are performances this year, and this isn't an issue. I just think that I hope to see there are some people who did some amazing performances that you kind of don't notice right away because you're so lost in the character. Like on Game of Thrones, there are just people on there that are such villains that you have such hate for them. And I'm like, someone should nominate this person because we really are lost in this character. In I guess Fargo won last year, but I remember Oliver Platt was so good because you just disliked the character so much that I thought, anyway, why am I feel like I'm lecturing.
You're here to talk.
I think what I mean to say is that whatever you can't sort of premeditate and do math like that. I think it's like something resonates from a performer, and when you know that it resonates with you, that's all you can go by. If it's one character or 10 or just some monologue or something, it's just like that's the beauty of it, is that there's so many different ways that you could be moved by what a person's performance is.
Yes.
Yeah.
No, that's a very good point. Is there one performance this past year that you just really hope gets noticed?
From me?
Yeah, for like someone you've seen.
I promise you that this is not coming from like any kind of like humility where I'm like trying to shy away from it. All I do is I just try to perform and serve the piece, and someone will tell me what they think. And that's what happened last year. I was just advised because like, I'll tell you what, I'll even put myself in less of a position of like trying to be humble, is that I think vanity gets in the way of that. A comedian thinks like, I was great in that. And I'm going to take myself out of that mix because that's not for me to say. You know what I mean? It comes from vanity. I think some of it even comes from like, did I look okay in it?
Yeah.
Don't you think? I think I really believe that. It's just like, yeah, it's not that I'm not, I think awards are great and everything. I just think when it comes to choosing something from yourself, that's somewhere where I would defer. I'll tell you what, I would defer to Carrie. I'd defer to John, our director. That's more like, what do you guys think?
And I think it is best the people, when if they choose or they don't choose, that they get some outside opinion, get someone else's eyes on it, because it's very hard to detach. And I know we've had actors that have made, I think, mistakes of submitting things in the past where they've just picked the episode that they directed of the series because they've got some, they've got a very intimate role with that particular episode, and that's, I think, cost them. Like, that's probably cost some people Emmys. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So, and it's also easier for me this way too. I'd rather just, I just want to. I've enjoyed every year so far. It's just been such a strange, fun thing that I would like to continue that. I want to just, whatever way I was these past couple of years, I just want to feel the same way.
Yeah, and Fred, you might not remember this at all. Have you and Carrie been at work at all on our washing dishes television show?
We are not at liberty to say.
Okay.
There are some news channel organizations that have wanted to fund it. So I'll just say, I'm not allowed to say whether it's happening, but it's happening.
Well, that's good to hear. That's good. Yeah, I hope we're the first on the scene when it's going to development.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Very good. Well, all the best, Fred, for the Emmys. Hopefully, Portlandia can continue its upward trajectory. And just best of luck for. I'm assuming you're in Portland now because season 6 is on its way.
Yeah.
No.
And what city are you in right now?
I'm in Sydney.
I really want to go to Sydney.
Come.
I really do. I hear more and more great things about it.
That's very good. So hopefully we'll see you down here in not too long.
Okay.
Okay. Have a good one, Fred.
All right. Thank you very much for doing this.